20% of all the oil that powers the world passes through a stretch of water so narrow you could cross it in a commercial flight in under 10 minutes. And right now, it is one argument, one miscalculation, or one missile away from shutting down entirely. This is not a hypothetical. It has almost happened before. Multiple times. And the thing that keeps energy analysts, military strategists, and world leaders up at night is not the oil itself. It is something far stranger. Something that will make complete sense to you by the end of this video. The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran and Oman at the southeastern edge of the Persian Gulf. At its narrowest point, it is just 21 miles wide. But within those 21 miles, there are only 2 navigable shipping lanes, each roughly 2 miles across. 2 miles. That is the width of a small town separating a functioning global economy from a catastrophic one. Every single day, between 17 and 21 million barrels of oil move through that corridor. Saudi oil, Emirati oil, Kuwaiti, Iraqi, and Qatari oil. It supplies roughly 20% of the world's total oil consumption and nearly a third of all liquefied natural gas traded globally. Japan gets about 90% of its oil through Hormuz. South Korea gets over 70%. India, China, and most of Europe are equally exposed to it too. Now here is where it starts to feel personal. When that strait gets nervous, your fuel pump gets expensive. Your groceries cost more. Flights get pricier. The products you order online take longer to arrive because shipping costs have spiked. The Strait of Hormuz is so embedded in the global supply chain that its instability shows up in your daily life before you even hear about it on the news. Most people think of geopolitics as something happening in a distant room. The Strait of Hormuz is the proof that the room is your kitchen. Now let us talk about what actually makes this place so fragile, because the geography alone is only half the story. Iran sits on the northern bank. The country has, on multiple occasions, threatened to close the strait entirely if it felt cornered by Western sanctions or military pressure. In 2019, Iran seized a British oil tanker in the strait. In 2023 and 2024, Iranian-backed forces used the broader regional tension to harass and redirect vessels. The strait has been the stage for naval standoffs, drone incidents, and diplomatic crises more times than most people realize, because most of those incidents never trend on social media. But here is the fact that tends to stop people mid-scroll. Iran cannot fully close the strait without also destroying its own economy. Iran exports its own oil through Hormuz. Closing it completely would be an act of economic self-destruction. So the real threat is not a full closure. It is the threat of a closure. The uncertainty itself is the weapon. That distinction matters enormously. Markets do not wait for things to actually happen. They price in the fear. When tensions spike near Hormuz, oil prices move within hours, sometimes within minutes. The actual tankers are still sailing. But the world has already reacted. This is a mechanism that runs quietly in the background of modern life that almost nobody outside of energy circles thinks about. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. There have been serious attempts to build alternatives. Saudi Arabia completed a pipeline that runs overland to the Red Sea port of Yanbu, bypassing Hormuz entirely. The UAE built a pipeline to Fujairah on the Gulf of Oman. Both are operational. But together they can only handle a fraction of the current Hormuz volume. There is no realistic bypass that matches what the strait moves on a daily basis. The infrastructure simply does not exist at scale, and building it would take decades and cost hundreds of billions. So the world is left managing risk rather than eliminating it. The United States Fifth Fleet is based in Bahrain specifically to protect freedom of navigation in the Gulf. NATO allies rotate warships through the region. And still, every few years, something happens in that narrow corridor that sends a quiet tremor through the global economy. Now this is the part that most travel and lifestyle content will never tell you. The Strait of Hormuz is actually a place you can visit. Muscat, the capital of Oman, sits not far from the strait's southern edge. It is one of the most underrated cities in the world. Clean, safe, architecturally stunning, and almost completely off the radar of mass tourism. The Omani coastline that borders the strait is dramatic and empty and genuinely beautiful. Kasab, a small city in the Muzandam Peninsula, sits right at the entrance to the strait itself. You can take a boat trip through those waters and watch massive oil tankers move in slow formation against a backdrop of jagged limestone mountains dropping into turquoise sea. There is something deeply strange and quietly profound about sitting in a traditional wooden dhow watching a supertanker the length of 4 football fields glide silently past you. You are looking at the thing that keeps the lights on in Tokyo, the traffic moving in London, and the factories running in Guangzhou. And it is right there. Visible. Touchable. Achingly real in a way that maps and news segments never manage to convey. Most people who dream of travel are thinking about places that feel exciting or beautiful or exotic. Very few are thinking about places that are all of those things and also genuinely matter. The Strait of Hormuz is one of those rare places where the beautiful and the consequential exist in the same frame. And that brings us to the thing that has been quietly sitting at the center of this entire video. The thing that keeps analysts awake is not the oil. It is the dependency. The world built an entire energy architecture around a single choke point that no one fully controls and no one can fully protect. It is a system designed with a critical single point of failure and left that way for decades because the alternative was too expensive and too politically complicated to attempt. Most of the systems that quietly shape your life operate the same way. They were built around assumptions that made sense once and have never been seriously updated. The global energy grid. The supply chains for your electronics. The food systems that move produce from farms you have never seen to stores in your city. All of it is more fragile than the version of the world that most people carry in their heads. That does not mean collapse is coming. It means the world is being held together by a combination of confidence, luck, and a narrow corridor of water 21 miles wide that almost nobody could find on a map before today. Now you can.